Business has always been about turning a profit, making money. But can it stand for something more? Something beyond dollars and cents? We think so. We think that today, business has a higher calling, a purpose to be fair and just, to do right by their workers, customers, communities, and the environment. And it turns out companies successful doing that also do better for their bottom line. When you see the Just Capital seal, it means this company is a force for good. Visit justcapital.com to learn more.
Good afternoon. We are doing it live here in the 4 o'clock hour. We get right down to business here on 790 KBC, doing more in 2024. Mottek On Money, live on the air on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com, and your on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Bitcoin hitting new record high today, above 68,000 as cryptomania hits the financial markets. Bitcoin at an all-time high. And we go from blockchain to gold chain. Gold, too, is at a record high today. Gold futures settling at $2,126.23, the highest ever seen for gold since gold futures contracts, by the way, began trading in 1974. I'll talk about that record run-up for gold with the precious metals and rare coin expert we call upon, Barry Stupler, based here in Los Angeles, will be joining me live later this hour. The stock market, meanwhile, moving a bit lower, pausing a record-shattering rally after the S&P 500 saw its 16th winning week out of the last 18. Investors are bracing for a busy week. That includes congressional testimony from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell and the jobs report that will be coming out at the end of the week. The Dow coming in for a closing loss of just about 98 points. The S&P 500 slipped 6, and the NASDAQ down 67, coming off a record high. We will be hearing from the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell on Capitol Hill this week for 2 consecutive days of congressional testimony. And the big enchilada of monthly economic reports will be coming out on Friday. That's the monthly jobs report from the Labor Department. It is Election Eve 2024. Tomorrow, voters in Southern California will be going to the polls on the March 5th primary election. What's on the ballot that will cost you money? I'll talk about that with the taxpayer watchdog Susan Shelley, columnist for the Southern California News Group and host of the Howard Jarvis radio show, heard Friday nights right here at 6 p.m. on your favorite station, 790 KBC. But first, on this epic crypto rally, including Bitcoin at a record high, I'm looking at it right now, it's at 68,409. Joining us live now, Jason Nelson, reporter at Decrypt.com, who's here to decrypt crypto for us today. Jason, thank you very much for taking the call this afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
I know you're very busy today, so thanks very much for taking the call here. Take it from the top and tell us what we need to know about this big rally that seems to continue here.
Well, we've been in an upward swing for the last few weeks. Like you said a little bit ago, Bitcoin is heading towards its all-time high with a lot of speculation that could either happen today or tomorrow, depending on who you're asking.
Right. A lot of speculation, I guess, is the right word for it. A lot of wild guesses or analysis. How would you describe it as far as all these predictions as to where Bitcoin goes from here?
Well, seeing how the crypto Twitter is pretty much losing its mind right now, seeing these numbers, it's really just the positivity, the sentiment is, I think, what's carrying a lot of this speculation right now. The fear and greed index on Bitcoin is extreme, so it's a lot of people are very excited right now.
No question about that, and we saw that excitement build on the SEC's approval of those Bitcoin ETFs. For those that don't know that abbreviation, that means exchange-traded funds. And since then, we've seen quite a rally here, and in the face of still hot inflation, and PS Gold has hit a record high, and now Bitcoin also touching record highs. Curiously, this is all happening when we're told inflation is coming down. What is your view of how all of this is correlated to the inflation we've seen?
Well, you still have a lot of people who believe Bitcoin is a hedge in times of uncertainty in the market. Whether or not that's playing a role in this, that remains to be seen. But when the overall economy starts to have its ebbs and flows, you do see a lot of people turning to Bitcoin in times like that.
Right, and we'll be getting some important readings on the economy this week. On the jobs front, we'll be hearing from the Fed chairman himself. It'll be interesting to see if he's asked about this crypto run-up with Bitcoin extending its rally and taking the others along with it. I'm sure you're going to be expanding our vocabulary here today. Ethereum has also had a big run-up, right? And now there's talk that we might see Ethereum ETFs. There was some news about that today. What about that important story?
Well, unfortunately, the SEC pushed back on BlackRock's spot Ethereum ETF application again, which we could read all about it on decrypt.co. There's still a lot of hope that an Ethereum ETF is going to happen soon, but the SEC is pretty much still the only one we're going to let through right now is Bitcoin. And even SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce at East Denver said it shouldn't have taken a court order to make that possible. So, seeing how it had to go through the court system to get done, it's doubtful when these other ETFs will go through.
All right, since you've been taking a close look at these Bitcoin exchange-traded fund ETFs, investors have quite a few choices, right? Which one seems to be getting the most attention?
Right now, it's still BlackRock's ETF has the most money going into it. The last time I personally looked at it, it was over $2 billion, I believe. So that's where you're getting most of your attention right now. And a lot of that has to do with the amount of Bitcoin being gobbled up by these companies to fund these ETFs, because you have to have that on hand in order to sell these products, which is yet another reason why you're seeing such a upswing in Bitcoin's price.
All right, if you saw the report, but Fidelity Investments has been reported is now recommending that the traditional 60-40 portfolio model should evolve to include a 1 to 3% allocation to crypto, specifically through its spot Bitcoin ETF. And that's certainly a big news with a major brokerage like this making that kind of an announcement.
Yeah, and the other thing that you're also going to see is speculation that Vanguard may change their view on Bitcoin ETF now that their CEO announced he's stepping down. He was pretty adamant that it wouldn't be offered under his watch. So you have some speculation that now that that watch is changing, that Vanguard may also offer their ETF as well, an ETF as well.
All right, so you have a front row seat on all this. You cover cryptos very, very closely. And P.S., we talk to the biggest fans of crypto here as well as the harshest critics. But based on what you've seen at all these brokerage places and in all the crypto platforms, what do you consider the most reliable form of analysis here? We've been hearing all these wilder predictions, but what's the go-to analysis?
Well, you always want to do your own research and find your own analysis that you trust. You can always follow along on Decrypt. We have the news coming out as quickly as possible. And I also need to correct myself. BlackRock's ETF is over $10 billion, not $2. So,
yeah,
that's just
in the last 5 minutes, probably.
Yeah. So, but yeah, any investor, always make sure you're investing whatever you're willing to. You don't invest more than you're willing to lose. All those disclaimers, and just stick with Decrypt, and we'll keep you covered in the news.
Yeah. Well, that is certainly good advice there. And let's take a look at some of these meme coins. I mentioned recently that one of my favorite headlines that we've seen this week is that every dog coin has its day, and we've seen Shiba Inu have a big run-up, Doge as well. Let me take a look here. Doge at 19 cents. Remember, it was stuck at 6 cents for quite some time, but 19 cents here right now. Shiba Inu, which is the one that trades below 1 cent, has seen, on a percentage basis, a pretty big jump. What are your thoughts on those two here?
Well, what's the saying? Rising tide lifts all boats. So you have Dogecoin with a 7-day of 107.84% gains. Shiba Inu with a 277% for the week. It's just everything. Even the other Bitcoin derivative coins, the hard forks, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, they're both going up as well.
All right, and go right down the line for us here. I'm sure you've got your computer screen handy. Solana and Cardano. Give us an update on some of the other ones that have been getting your attention and any news coming across there today.
So far, the news is just numbers going up. Solana right now is at $133.05, 20.34% for the 7 days. XRP is at 64 cents, up 17.98% for the week. It's just going up right now. But the thing that you have to be aware of is that once the number goes up, you always have to be, cautious around when the number is going to go back down. You're going to have a lot of people. Anyone who tells you the number is just going to go up and never come down, you always want to be careful with that.
Right, and we've seen volatility, of course, part of the crypto experience, given that run-up that crypto saw above 68K a couple of years ago, and then we had that crypto winter and even the ice age, as they called it, with Bitcoin was in the teens for a while and then has now rebounded above 68,000 here. We're on the air live with Jason Nelson, reporter at Decrypt.com, and maybe you can expand our vocabulary here. I'm on your website here now, and one of your top stories, Bitcoin ordinals are reshaping the NFT marketplace landscape. Maybe you can translate that for us and tell us what we need to know about that.
So, similar to NFT, an ordinal is a digital, how best to put it? It's like an NFT. It's a digital token that is a part of the Bitcoin blockchain. There was an upgrade a few years back called Taproot that allowed you to add different bits of code to the Bitcoin network. And because of that, you're able to inscribe different people are inscribing anything from pictures to someone inscribed the original Doom first-person shooter game on the Bitcoin network because of this. And you also have the ability since last March to create your own meme coin. So where you see SHIB, Bonk, all these other coins that are traditionally related to Solana and Ethereum, now you can do that on Bitcoin. And that's all through the Ordinals protocol.
All right. What about NFTs? Is that still a big thing right now? And are people making money in NFTs? And what's the hottest thing in NFTs at the moment?
Personal opinion, I would say it's ordinals. There's a lot of interest in ordinals. You have projects that used to be on Ethereum and Solana going to Bitcoin because you can put them on. You can do that on Bitcoin now. Magic Eden, the largest NFT marketplace right now, has an entire section devoted specifically to Bitcoin NFTs. So I would say right now, ordinals is probably the biggest thing going.
All right, we want to make sure we understand what all that is. So thanks for that explanation. And there's some other things here on your site that we want to talk to you about as well. Some new terms here. You're going to help us out here. Wormhole is gearing up for a multi-billion-dollar airdrop of its W token. Maybe you can translate that one for us, please.
Well, I think the most important part about that is the airdrop part. And cryptocurrency, an airdrop is when a protocol, however it's controlled, sends tokens to eligible wallets. Like, for example, an upcoming airdrop is the Runestone airdrop that people are still waiting for. It's only going to be sent out to 1,100 eligible wallets. Wormhole is doing the same thing. This particular airdrop, it could be worth almost $3 billion. That's how many tokens are, how much the tokens are supposed to be worth after it's done. But you don't know who's going to get it until it actually happens because you have to meet a certain criteria. Now, if they announce it like Runestone did, you can check and see if you're eligible because it tells you, if you had a wallet between these dates and these dates, you should be eligible for this airdrop. But that isn't always the case, so you have to really pay attention to what they're offering and what they're telling you.
Very interesting. Here's another interesting headline here from Forbes. This is the headline here. It says U.S. dollar death spiral crisis fears grow after Bank of America issues shocking $1 trillion every 100 days warning amid huge Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and crypto price boom. Can you explain that one for us?
Well, that's a different company, so I'm not sure if I could explain their article. But like I was saying earlier, when you start seeing these swings in the broader economy, a lot of people do turn to Bitcoin as their, hedge. So it's one of those things where you just have to hold on and watch where the market goes.
A lot of moving parts here. Well, thanks for fielding all of our questions here. And one other important thing that happened last week when some customers at Coinbase looked at their app and saw they had zero in their accounts. The company later said that there was some sort of a snafu, but all the funds were safe. Have we heard anything more about that?
Well, apparently it happened again today. What happens is when there's a lot of traffic, either up or down, Coinbase has an unfortunate history of having technical issues. A lot of people say crash, and I don't think that's the right word you want to use as a technical issue. The website is fine. It's just you having these glitches. And one of the glitches that happens is wallet balances show zero. And of course, if you're an investor in anything, if you log in and see zero, that's going to freak you out. And so Coinbase has been doing a lot of damage control lately, assuring people that their funds are safe, that you didn't get hacked or there wasn't anything like that. But it's still alarming to a lot of people that this happens when the market starts becoming volatile.
Absolutely. Well, it's certainly unnerving, and I thought it happened again today. And you're confirming that it did happen again. It happened to me momentarily where it said zero again. So it is unnerving, but it seems to have been a lot less of time than it was last week. So thank you for mentioning that. And so a lot of people have come around here on crypto, given this rebound, Jason. I know you attend the crypto conferences and all that, which were thinning out there for a while when crypto was moving lower. But what's the mood among the crypto community you're so connected to at the moment?
Oh, it's ecstatic right now. The sentiment, like I said earlier, it's very high. We just had East Denver and Denver, Colorado. One estimate put it at over 20,000 people went to that conference over those few days. So there's a lot of people excited right now, a lot of building activity, a lot of, looking towards the future to see where this is all going. And it's just really exciting right now.
Anything else you'd like to mention with so much attention focused on this cryptomania here at the moment?
I would just say stay tuned to decrypt.co. That's our website, and we keep it covered as quickly and as tightly as possible and easy to understand bites. So hopefully anyone listening to this can go to the website and learn everything they'd like to know.
Right, it's decrypt.co, not .com. So Jason Nelson, reporter at decrypt.co. We do appreciate it, and I have a feeling we're going to be in touch with you here, Jason. Thank you very much for taking the call here today.
Thank you.
And right out to the freeways we go now on 790 KABC. Folks, let's be honest, sometimes we find ourselves or a loved one dealing with a massive injury caused by a terrible accident by no fault of our own. Sometimes it's simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. We're good at preparing for earthquakes and fires, but let's not forget to prepare in case you're involved in a major accident. It's critical to know who to call first. Clark Fielding became an attorney to help you in a crisis. Fielding Law is focused on justice and resources for you because they understand how the system works and what to do in the most horrific situations. I always say to put the Fielding Law team in your phone under the word accident, so all you have to do is hit dial. You'll feel a lot better having set this up for yourself and your family. The number is 833-88-SHARK. That's 833-88-SHARK. With the population exploding and increased vehicles on the freeways, be proactive, prepare for the worst, and expect the best. But if and when you do need help, call Clark Fielding and his team of sharks at 833-88-SHARK. That's 833-88-SHARK. Or go to clarkthesharklaw.com. Again, that's clarkthesharklaw.com. 790 KBC welcomes Herman's Hermits to the Canyon, Montclair, March 30th. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com. And right now, caller 9 wins at 1-888-795-2222. You can get a pair of tickets to the show if you're caller 9. Call right now, 1-888-795-2222. And check out Hermits at the Canyon, Montclair, March 30th. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. Check this out. Bitcoin soaring above 68,000, kissing new highs, as well as the other tokens rebounding impressively. Right now, Bitcoin is up more than 400 at 68,132. Ethereum up 46 at 3,627. And Doge at 19 cents. Gold also at a record high, and I'll be talking about that. I'll talk about it with Barry Stuppler coming up later this hour. Gold up more than $30 to $2,126.30 an ounce. Oil moving higher, right now hovering at just below $79 a barrel. The Dow coming in for a closing loss today of 98 points at 38,990. The S&P 500 down 6 at 5,131, and the Nasdaq down 67 at 16,207. All the major stock market averages still hovering near the record highs achieved last week. And now the latest news for you right here on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KABC. It's Election Eve 2024. Tomorrow's the March 5th primary. Southern Californians will be going to the polls. You might be wondering what's on the ballot that will cost me money, cost you money. Let's talk about that with taxpayer watchdog Susan Shelley now, columnist for the Southern California News Group and host of the Howard Jarvis radio show, heard Friday nights right here on 790 KABC. Susan, thank you very much for taking the call and being our advocate. Take it from the top here and tell us what we're going to be facing in the booth tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Frank. The big expensive thing statewide is Proposition 1, which is $6.38 billion of borrowed money. When taxpayers finish paying it back, it will be more like $12 billion. And what this pays for is about 11,000 beds, supposedly to solve the mental health and homelessness crisis in California. But it's such a bait and switch. What it really does, in addition to borrowing money, is it robs money from the counties for existing services. So if Prop 1 passes tomorrow, you're going to see tax increases on your ballot in November to make up the difference. So this is just very expensive. I totally recommend that people vote no on Proposition 1. So does the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association.
Yeah, tell us about Prop 1. So what is it supposed to do, and what do you think, how is this going to be wasting taxpayer dollars?
Well, the first thing it does is it borrows an enormous amount of money to build unspecified places for treatment for substance abuse and mental health. But the state will tell us later what they're going to build. When you borrow money, you're supposed to know what it's for, and it's supposed to last for 30 years so that when you finish paying for it, it's still there. Well, we have no idea what they're going to build. It's a blank check. And then another $2 billion of it is going into more of this Project Room Key, Project Home Key kind of housing, where the state comes in and buys an old hotel or a new hotel, pays too much for it, renovates it at top dollar with labor that's paid the prevailing wage, which means it's the most expensive labor you can possibly hire for construction. And it wastes all the money, just like Measure HHH did in Los Angeles, just like the sales tax Measure H increased the sales tax for homelessness services. It doesn't work. It's all failed policies, and this is more money into the same failed policies, which, of course, takes away from the future the opportunity to spend that money on something that will work.
Anything else that's caught your attention on the ballot? We're used to seeing things on the ballot that seem to mean one thing or say one thing and mean another, as we saw with the so-called mansion tax, right? And then that Prop 19, of course, was deceptive to folks and turned out not to be what we expected. Anything else like that we're going to have to decipher tomorrow?
There sure is. On the city ballot in Los Angeles, Measure HLA, which says it's about pedestrian safety. It says it's about, quote, healthy streets. That's what the H stands for. Actually, what it does is it costs $3 billion that the city does not have to do road diets, to do bus lanes and bike lanes and bollards and curbs jutting out into the middle of the street and roundabouts. And it makes all of that mandatory every time a street is repaved. Even a small section of a street is repaved. So there's no way to pay for it. It's just a mandate. The fire department has come out against it. The firefighters union is very upset because it adds to the response time in an emergency. And seconds mean lives, obviously. So you can't have these fire trucks and ambulances driving around the side streets because there are bike lanes and bus lanes and bollards and curbs jutting out into the middle of the streets because of this Measure HLA. So vote no on that. That's a real bait and switch also.
I'm sure you've had this experience. You see these little bike, symbols painted on the streets. And I was on Vine the other day near Sunset Boulevard, and there was a bicyclist right in front of me in traffic. And how is that possibly safe?
It's not safe. It's not safe. But the idea is that this is supposedly saving the climate by getting people out of their cars. But you can see that it doesn't do that. Really, it's just about trying to get state money or density bonuses, perhaps, for developers who want to build something near a bike lane or a bus lane, and being near transit makes them eligible for different kinds of legal breaks. But it doesn't help drivers. It doesn't help cyclists. And it's extremely expensive. So the city of Los Angeles itself is not in favor of this. The Streets Bureau is warning against it. The city administrative officer is warning against it. But it was put on the ballot with signatures. And so it's an initiative. It will pass if it gets a simple majority. If they fool 50% plus one into believing that road diets are a good thing, then we're going to have road diets all throughout Los Angeles. And anyone in the city can sue the city for not complying with it if they fail to implement this plan. It's really just terrible legislation.
Well, we so appreciate you keeping an eye on that. What happened to Prop 19? Where do things stand on repealing that one?
Well, this was very frustrating to us. We did so well. We got more than 500,000 signatures. I think we were nearly 560,000 signatures, but we needed 875,000 ballot signatures to get on the November ballot. So the clock went out, and we can try again, and we can certainly push the legislature to change the law back to the way it needs to be. We have lost, as of now, we have lost the ability of parents to transfer property to their children without a tax increase. As it stands, with only narrow exceptions, property is now reassessed to current market value when passed from parents to children, which means that everybody's going to have to pay 1% of these insane valuations in real estate in California. Very, very harsh.
We've seen a tremendous rise in the capital markets, Susan. We've seen record high stock market lately. We've seen the cryptos rally to at or near record highs, certainly rebounding impressively from the crypto winter and ice age that we saw in recent years. And even gold is at a record high here. How is all of that impacting Sacramento's budget picture at this point? Have things improved there, or are we still deep in a hole there in Sacramento?
Well, the problem in Sacramento is that they have promised to spend much more than they're taking in and much more than they're going to take in. Certainly, it'll be a little better if the stock market is high because capital gains are taxed as regular income in California, and therefore the tax collection from wealthy people or anyone who's realizing a capital gain, the tax collections go up. Unfortunately, if the people leave, then California doesn't get the money. So to the extent that people are moving out of the state to avoid that high tax, then the budget reflects the downturn of revenue. And the revenue projections have been too rosy, and the actual numbers coming in are very harsh in comparison. So the Legislative Analyst's Office is warning that we have a $73 billion shortfall. The governor disputes that. He's more optimistic about the revenue. But it's not really that good to be optimistic because if you're wrong, you run out of money and you have to raise taxes, and nobody wants that.
Susan, thanks again for doing an amazing job on behalf of all of us, the taxpayers here in California. That is Susan Shelley, columnist for the Southern California News Group and host of the Howard Jarvis radio show, heard Friday nights at 6 p.m. on your favorite station, this one, 790 KABC. Susan, thank you very much for joining us here this afternoon.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks again. And let me mention this here. A lot of discussion about the price of Bitcoin above 68,000. And is it a record high or isn't it? There's some debate about that. I see one of the write-ups here mentioning exchanges like Coinbase. In fact, Coinbase, according to Coinbase, Bitcoin has already surpassed its 2021 high against the U.S. dollar when it hit 65,565 and change today. According to Coinbase, the previous Bitcoin record high was around 64,000, but CoinMarketCap says Bitcoin peaked at 68,789 and change in November of 2021. And CoinGecko has the largest figure for Bitcoin, claiming that Bitcoin's all-time high is $69,044.77 set back in November of 2021. So by some accounts, Bitcoin is already at a record high. Others say it's just below its record high. Big run-up for Bitcoin today, and for gold, too. We'll talk about gold in just a moment here with Barry Stepler. But right now, let's check your ride this afternoon here on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KABC. A lot of attention focused on the blockchain with Bitcoin kissing record highs. Also, the gold chain getting new attention with gold kissing record highs as well. Gold futures settling at $2,126.23, the highest seen since gold futures contracts began trading back in 1974. Well, the gold folks are excited about that, and it's certainly big news. Let's bring in the precious metals and rare coin expert now, Barry Stepler, based here in Los Angeles, former president of the American Numismatic Association. Barry, great to have you with us. And sure enough, an all-time high for gold here at, 2,122 here at the moment. Give us an update on gold in this latest record run-up here.
Could you say that all-time high again? I really enjoy hearing it.
Yeah, well, here we are above 2,100 here today.
Yes, no, the market is just acting about what in line with what we expected to see. The buying is off the charts. Central banks are at historic highs for purchasing gold. They're dumping their dollars and they're acquiring gold for their national reserves. The buying in China and India is pretty much leading the pack in terms of physical investor buying, and you're seeing that number. And at the same time, many of the very popular gold and silver coins, particularly the gold eagle, the gold maple leaf, the gold buffalo, all those coins are trading very actively and just in really good demand. So I'm very impressed with the market. When you see this type of activity, it's just typically getting started. Tomorrow, it should be making the presses that gold sets an all-time high, and then I expect my phone to be ringing off the hook. That's what happens.
That's human nature, right? People rush in at record highs, not when nobody's talking about it.
Well, gold historically has a history of running. So when it breaks a high like this, it could easily go to 2,300 fairly quickly. And because all the professional commodity traders tend to want to be long when it breaks historic resistance levels, and that's what it did Friday and today, and all of a sudden today you saw a tremendous amount of buying on the commodity markets, and a lot of that's professional buying, and they know particularly when gold and precious metals start running, they run. And when it runs like this, it could be up $100 by the end of the week. Wouldn't surprise me.
Man, we're in a new era, of course, with cryptos in the mix. Bitcoin also at or near all-time highs here. Another commodity, as some consider it, right? So how is this playing out, gold chain versus a blockchain?
Well, I kind of look at crypto and Bitcoin as a 19-year. It's been around for about 19 years now. It's basically a teenager, and gold's been around for thousands of years, and gold has proven itself as an inflationary hedge and a hard money asset that has retained value for thousands of years. Crypto is relatively new. There's still a lot more risk, a lot more volatility in crypto, substantially more volatility in crypto. It could be 70,000 tomorrow. It could be 30,000 tomorrow. Gold has shown tremendous support above 2,000. That's probably on the support level is probably the support level. So there's going to be a lot of volatility, and it's more likely to go up 10% from here. So it's just a more conservative investment for people that are older. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and you've been doing this for a while. There's no old on this show, by the way. It's young or young at heart only. And you may remember when we had that run-up back in 1980, it was a big deal when gold hit a record high then, and it had not hit a record high for many years after that. But does this situation here with the inflation still running hot and all the geopolitical upheaval, does this remind you of any certain times that we've seen in recent decades?
Well, you've got all the fundamentals coming together to be very bullish for gold. I mean, interest rates are starting to fall. The 10-year is almost down to 4%. The dollar is getting hammered. It's under 104. At the same time, you're seeing a lot of deflationary hedges in the system, and that's what gold reacts to. That's why we're seeing the move right now. It just looks like the right time to own gold, because all the indicators, economic indicators, are saying there's going to be lower interest rates down the line, which will help gold, but it will also help. Lower interest rates are more likely to help silver than gold. Deflation typically helps gold more, and gold is your hedge, your safe haven investment, and it's been that for years. So most of the people that we talk to have been investors in gold for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Their families have been investing. They've saved their wealth. It's a way of storing wealth and without having any problems with it, and you can always liquidate it, which is great. If you're in the right precious metals, liquidation is a matter of one day or less. It's not like any other investment where there's a question. And most people that own physical gold own it. They physically have it in their safe deposit box or their safes. It's not like having it on a computer somewhere. I'm always concerned about the people I talk to that have lost thousands of dollars because the crypto exchange either went out of business or can't find their money. It doesn't happen with gold. Gold is
all right. What about silver? We see it at around 23 and change. Silver, you mentioned 23 and change. What about platinum, palladium? Anything else getting your attention?
Well, silver is trading at roughly a 90 to 1 ratio to gold, which is ridiculous. I mean, silver has more of a reaction to inflation. So as inflation comes back, that silver price. Silver, with gold at the current level, silver should be $30. At $23 and change, it's an absolute bargain. And the premiums on many of the popular silver coins are at really nice levels right now. Where a year ago they were trading at 3 times the current level. Now they're at realistic levels. So we're moving a lot of silver because that's why to be diversified. They want to have gold, they want to have silver. Platinum is still somewhat guesswork. A lot of the platinum production is coming out of Russia. Palladium's still a question mark. But from a conservative point of view, silver and gold are definitely outstanding precious metals to own right now.
All right. And what's your website there, Barry?
It's mintstategold.com. Mintstategold.com. And there's a question and answer area. There's questions you may have. I mean, we have a lot of clients that are dealers, investors.
Barry, thank you very much. Wish we had more time. We'll have to stop there, but I have a feeling we're going to speak again very, very soon. Barry Stepler, former president of the American Numismatic Association, live with us here. Stay tuned now for the 790 KABC News Blitz with Randy Wang, and come back tomorrow at 4 for Mottek On Money on 790 KABC.
Afford Anything talks about how to avoid common pitfalls, how to refine your mental models, and how to think about how to think.
If you sacrifice your dream for the sake of satisfying someone else, that can often lead to ongoing resentment, which then poisons a relationship. Subtly, slowly, but it does. And if he doesn't want to let you down, then your dreams matter. Afford Anything, wherever you listen.